Yo, what's up Lumia? It's your soon-to-be boy Mirrors. In this video, I'm going to be teaching you guys what I did in order to hit Diamond on Season 5 of Eternal Return on the North American ladder. I'm sure a few of you guys have seen me running around Lumia Island over the last couple of seasons, and I just wanted to take a moment to share this video with you guys. I'm going to be going over the top 3 things that I learned while going through this venture. So let's go ahead and hop right in and enjoy the video, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Now before we get started, I want to give you guys a little bit of a disclaimer. I have zero MOBA experience going into Eternal Return. Eternal Return is my first and only MOBA. So if I can hit Diamond, then I believe anyone can. I've been playing a little bit over a year. I started back in pre-season 1, and when I first started playing the game, I was so bad. Like so bad. Think of the worst possible plays you can think of, and I was doing most of those plays. So with a little bit of time, effort, patience, and practice, I'm sure you guys can climb up to the rank that you guys want to hit as well. Now, the first thing that I want to touch upon is increasing the stats that you see on your DAC.GG as opposed to increasing your LP and gaining a new rank. Now you might be saying, Mirrors, why would I stop caring about my LP and my rank when I'm trying to climb? And I'm going to say, if you can increase your average kills, your average damage, average top 3 placement, and your average animal hunts, that means you are getting better at the game overall. And thus, if you are a better player, by logic, you will naturally just be a higher rank than everyone else. Now, I'm not sure if other people do this or if it's just me, but oftentimes I get caught up in looking at what my peers are doing, how much LP they're gaining, who they're killing, who they're dying to, when all of that time that I spend worrying about what other people are doing, I could be worrying about my own stats. I could be worried about fixing the problems that I have as a player, as opposed to worrying about what they're doing. At the end of the day, you should be always trying to improve your own stats while you're playing, and not care about what anybody else is doing. You're the only person who should matter. At the end of the day, climb because you owe it to yourself, not because you care what other people think about you and where you are in the game. And that brings me over to tip number 2, which I find to be probably the easiest thing you can do to improve your gameplay. Know when to rat jam. Sometimes things don't go the way that they're supposed to go. Eternal Return is a game with a shitload of RNG, and I'm not exactly sure why, but sometimes it might feel like you've killed every single bear on Lumia Island and you don't get exactly what you need. You don't get that drop, and you don't get any transitions. It sucks. But you need to understand when a game is a win versus salvageable. Early on into the game, before 10 minutes, you should know if it's going to be a good game or not. If you've hit an RNG item before 10 minutes, usually it means that you're going to do very well that game in terms of kill counts and potentially even win. But say you haven't hit any RNG up until that point. Your game is a wash. You're going to potentially lose LP. And the keyword here is potentially. If you're stuck on base build after 10 minutes and you get 11th place, you're probably going to lose like anywhere between 5 to 15 LP. But if you're still on base build and you know when to rat jam and kind of play for placing, you might end up turning that minus 10 to 15 into +1, +2. Hell, or maybe if you're even lucky, you might end up getting 2nd place that game. I know I've done a few games where I had no kills, stuck on base build, and I got 2nd. It's definitely possible, and this whole thing ties back into improving your own stats. If you're playing like this, you're naturally going to be getting a higher average placement, and it turns those games where you got 2 kills early on into potentially even +20, +25. It's definitely possible, and it's happened to me a few times before. So maybe you should consider playing for placements and not making sure that the game is a wash. Turn those -10s into -2, +1. And that brings me to my 3rd and final tip. You should understand when to take fights. You should know when your character is weak and when they're at their strongest. If you know that your character is really strong in the early game, you should try to take more fights into the early game and take less fights as the game goes on. I know it sounds like common sense, but you'd be surprised how little I actually knew about my character. Lee Dai-Lin on Glove is supposed to be an early game griefer character. Why would I not take more fights in the early game is what I asked myself. If she falls into this category, why would I not play to her strengths? Into the late game, she's still really good, but she's definitely at her strongest early, so that's what I centered my whole gameplay around. And you should do the same with your character. For example, if you play an early game griefer such as Nathapon, you should be trying to fight as many people as you can early, because that's when you're going to gain the most LP and get the most kills. And then of course there's the complete polar opposite, characters like Sylvia, where you scale at level 16. Why would you fight early if Sylvia doesn't have her passive, she's not strong? You should wait until the end of the game before you start trying to engage on people. Unless you know it's an absolute for sure free kill, why would you take the fight? And this doesn't apply to everyone. If your character is giga busted, then you're probably going to do well regardless, so just remember to keep that in mind. And there you have it. Those are my top 3 tips for climbing on North America in Eternal Return. Tip number 1 was again focusing on your Dak.gg stats instead of increasing your own LP in order to take some of the stress off. Tip number 2 was understanding when to rat jam. If you can stretch your LP out, why wouldn't you do it? The more gains you get, the better. Tip number 3 was again understanding when your character is strong versus when they're weak. Take more fights when you're strong and take less fights when you're weak. And thank you. I appreciate you guys sticking around till the end of the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. This was my first video for Eternal Return and I plan to do plenty more content. So let me know down in the comments down below. I keep saying down twice. I suck at this, guys. I'm still learning. So yeah, let me know what you guys thought down in the comments below. Yeah, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you guys want to see in a future video. And I hope to see you guys queuing the up in season 6. I want to see all of your beautiful faces.